The bands have had a week or so to stew, and now Spiritforged 2.0 is in full swing. Is the meta healthier, more fun? Find out what we think on this week's episode of The Winning Poll.
I'm really happy for Chalmers.
So
the
crazy.
circle's finally complete.
We completed the circle. Now everyone that is on the podcast right now will be on it. Wait. He didn't even show up to the episode where he got announced. What? What
He
is
show up to his own
this?
party.
Is
It's a very
this
Chalmers-coded thing to do.
He's too famous for us now, I think is what it is.
already
true,
big
I
timed?
think.
Already big timed us.
Big time in us already.
The Winning Point, episode number 41. I am Blevins. That is Casanova. All the way over there is Pastry Time, and not over there is not Charmer. Unbelievable. He had one job, and he's going to do that in Atlanta, which is awesome.
Yeah, alongside Pastry is going to be there as well.
Yeah.
But he's already
That's
done
old
one.
news.
He's already done one.
Already
On
been
this.
there, done that.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's nice. I mean, if anybody goes back and watches, I believe the first episode we talked about, it was a goal of all of ours that we wanted to cast an RQ, specifically just official.
It would have been
Riot
weird if we
events
said
and-
R-Cube way before it was announced. We're just leaking stuff we didn't even know.
No, but the fact that we're all gonna have done one in the next few weeks because Lil will be Blevins' first, and
Let's
then after
go.
that it'll be Charmer in Atlanta. Then we all got him.
It hit me that Lil is next week. For some reason in my mind, it was like 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, and it's just next week.
Yep, it's actually so nice because last time the European event was before the NA event, but it was a week before. Now there's an extra week for me to watch all of your tape and steal all your good ideas. So I'm actually so juiced. So I don't have to do any work leading into Atlanta. I can just coast on in.
Wait,
That's a joke. I'm going to do lots of work.
there's 2 weeks in between these events. Wait, why am I not going?
I think
to
so,
Atlanta?
right?
Wait,
I
I
don't
don't know.
think
Why
that's
aren't you
true.
going to Atlanta? It is true, right? Yeah, it's definitely true.
what? Wait, hold on. When is
I
wait,
thought they
Atlanta?
were back to back again. Am I?
Hang
Am
on.
I?
What weekend is Lil?
Run the graphic. When are these events?
So Atlanta is 24, 25, 26. They are back to... Okay. So your problem is that Lil is actually a week, like next week. Because this is weird because it comes out on the weekend, but it's not the week... It's not happening the weekend that... this weekend, but next week.
As of recording this,
It's fine.
we
It's
got
fine.
2 weekends.
Correct.
And then it's on the
They are
second
back to back
weekend from
again.
now.
I could still steal all Blevins' homework. It's fine.
That's true.
That angle is still there.
It's funny.
The
You
plane
think I'm
flight's
going to do
long.
homework? I am
All
not.
right.
But what I am going to do is check out shop.turnemsideways.gg
Let's go.
to see these awesome play mats. So good. I really want that Draven.
Did anyone like my guerrilla Twitter plug of this website recently? That was
I
one
did.
of my favorite
I
things.
thought it was so funny.
So good. Hey,
Basically, it just means you have to be on the pod more, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right,
I
yeah,
gotta
that's-
shill harder.
Oh, God.
That was
So other than the playmats, we've also got the website, and by the time you're listening to that episode, it should be updated with
Let's
decks
go.
or the ban list coming through. Because after I finish recording this, I'm gonna be chained to my desk finishing those, so it should be done.
Spoiler.
So make sure to check that out if you want to see best ofs of all the different events. That'll be updated for Lil and Atlanta as soon as that's done. And leading up to those events, if you need some inspiration on what to play post bans, you've got the opinions of myself, Randy, Priz, and recently Kuvi is going to help us get up to date just because it's becoming a lot of decks all the time. So we hired backup.
So good. I will say this is random offshoot here. I have had more people come up to me and comment. They're like, "Oh, I love the co-stream so much." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And I'm like, no. For Kuvi's corner, not for you, Blevins. I mute when you were on, but when it's in between the rounds and there's a potential for Kuvi's corner, I like unmuted immediately,
Dialed in.
into Kuvi's corner, and I don't blame anyone for having that opinion
Nope.
because that is the correct opinion.
Gotta start pumping them out as their own solo segments and just put them on the channel.
It's true. And then just slowly start phasing out all of the other stuff. It's just going to be
and
nothing
it's
but
literally
Kuvi's
just
corner.
Kuvi's corner.
Yeah. And yes, next year Leal will be cast by 4 Kuvies. Three
There you go.
robo Kuvies and 1 real one. You heard it here first. But what you also maybe heard here first is that we have got the pre-Rift kits revealed via
We're so
China,
back.
because the pre-Rift events were happened last weekend, I think. I don't know. This is another one of these like, well, last weekend actually means 2 weekends ago, but it also depends on
You
when
got
you
to be
listen to this. But
careful.
at
Yeah.
some point in the past, we had the pre-Rift kits for Unleashed revealed.
Randy was in China playing pre-rifts. April 4th is
There we
when
go.
he basically was playing. And he ended up sending pictures of each of them over to Marshall at Riftbound Report, who then posted them. And getting to show that there are the 6 legends that are in the pre-rift are Ivern, Jin, Diana, Vi, Kha'Zix, and Master Yi. So
Bunko.
I'm sad. I want to play LeBlanc at
Me
my
too.
pre-rift, but I actually just want to play LeBlanc all the time, forever.
Mhm.
So
Just
no,
open
but
one.
those are the 6. We're gonna end up talking about these a lot more on a future episode when pre-rift is actually coming to you and in the West. But it was just cool to see that little sneak peek on those 6 decks. I mean, who are you guys hoping to get at your pre-rift? Because I know usually my opinion is I like to see where the road takes me, but I do think that Diana or Kha'Zix definitely like call to me of that list.
Yeah, I would say give me Diana, because of the legends you listed, that is one of the 4 I'm wanting to play, and that is the only one in the pre-ripped kits that I actually want to play in Unleashed. So Diana has to be for me. Oh, honestly, the XP system seems really fun, so maybe just give me Kha'Zix.
I was
Yeah.
gonna
so
say one
look
of
at
the
these
XP legends feels like it's really good, because I think that those XP cards in limited can be very strong, and if you have like Kha'Zix is generating you XP, if you can get a few other XP cards, like I think that those can get out of control. For like they can get like proportionally out of control for limited. So I'm give me Kha'Zix Master Yi. I'm a little sad that they didn't give us Poppy as well. Like, why didn't they just put all the I would have
took
liked
her away
all the
from me.
XP.
Feels bad, man.
all the XP legends in it. But yeah, we'll be talking more in depth about these lists and what we think about Unleashed as we get a little bit closer to the pre-riff, because I can't remember where I heard this, but the post-ban meta being called set 2.5 I think has really resonated with me, because it's felt like there's a new set that came out, and I mean, again, biased because I'm going to be casting the largest event to date for this new meta, but yeah, I've really been dialed in on set 2.5 and really cared about it more than I thought I would have when it was like, oh, there's going to be bans, like whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, have you been seeing like a difference in a lot of the decks at like your Nexus Knights, your skirmishes? I mean, I know we've had a couple of like smaller events and then one pretty large event in New Zealand that we're going to talk about in a second. But I know personally for me, I went to a few skirmishes recently. I've been playing Rek'Sai. I won a skirmish on Rek'Sai immediately after the bans. And then I made the finals of another skirmish on Rek'Sai right afterwards as well. And I felt like the deck has looked really strong. I put out a tweet about my list, and then I started seeing a flood of other people starting to win skirmishes on lists that looked eerily similar with a few cards different. Not to say that they copied mine, but just that I think a lot of people are kind of recognizing this like Swarm Rek'Sai archetype, feeling pretty good. I even saw somebody playing Bushwhack. I went and tested it myself. It's kind of interesting. It actually does kind of work pretty well. I'm not sure if I'll end up on Bushwhack or not, but it was just like neat to see some people playing, like even trying to just like Bushwhack Battering Ram in a different deck, just playing like these miracle cards from Draven in Rek'Sai, and it being pretty effective. But yeah, I was wondering what else you've been seeing, because my local is very much lacking Draven, and I just don't think that is necessarily the case for this meta as a whole.
Yeah, my local had a couple of Draven players actually that immediately dropped it. Granted, they were playing Miracle Draven, and I don't think that they really liked the deck. They just were like, "Oh, this is the best deck," so I feel
Sure.
compelled to play it. And they went back to Kaisa, which is what they were playing in set 1. So yeah, it seemed like people, the knee jerk reaction was, oh, Kaisa is the best again, at least locally for me. So there was a bunch of Kaisa players. I think people were playing a lot more yellow. I played Hook Darius, which I had actually, ironically enough, had not played at a local outside of multiplayer since I built it, which was the first deck I built. So it's very excited to actually play Nexus Night with Hook Darius. I will say that the new lists with Xin Zhao specifically have really made the deck feel a lot more real. Whereas in set one, it was like, if you don't have Hook, this deck really kind of feels mediocre. And there were multiple games where I just didn't have Hook, and I was just playing like a good, aggressive, like board centric deck, which felt really good.
Zin's been great for me in Leona. I'm playing a lot of Hook Leo. My local is like whenever I can squeeze games in at work, which is not very often. But it's always fun to see what the local Riot adjacent people are playing. But I will say Zin's been great. I do think Hookdar is probably going to get much better in the next set. Not really the episode for it, but certainly a lot of good units printed for Fury that fit into the Hook archetype. So, which makes me sad because that's like the one variant of the deck I don't want to play. But we'll figure it out. Also, Cass, you should like go to a skirmish and win with some absolute dog shit right before the event, and then I think you'll have a good chance of like deceiving a bunch of other players into playing something bad, and then it'll make your field easier for your
crazy
big
because like I like it's funny to watch people take my lists and go, because historically I don't know that I've ever been the best deck builder when it comes to like the top level decks. I'm usually really good at tuning other people's decks once they've given me an idea. Like I'll play a bunch of games and I will make good suggestions for cards, looking at me and you suggesting Vex for Ezreal for Alan. Like, I will take zero credit on anything in his deck, but it is just like, we play a bunch of these games and we are talking about cards that could be really good. And I think that's usually where I shine. I'm pretty happy with this Rek'Sai deck. I'm sure that I will make a lot of adjustments prior to actually going to Lil, and I think that likely if people just play this exact version, then whatever deck I've gotten towards at the end is going to be better than it, so I'll be okay. But yeah, it is a very funny prospect of just like playing like a completely cheeks Rek'Sai list like just before and getting like, what a skirmish with this. I actually thought, so the second skirmish I went to, I thought about tweeting and I just didn't have the card to do it. In the morning, I was going to take the same picture that I took for the first one, which we had it on screen a second ago, but it was Rek'Sai with Ferris Forerunner on the board, and it was just like saying, this is my Rek'Sai list I'm playing today. I was gonna do the same one, but Rek'Sai with a detonate. And that was just, there's just no other context and just not say anything for the day. But I just didn't have a detonate on me, so I just didn't even go for it. But I thought that would have been very funny. It's just, I'm sure it would have gotten a rise out of people like, wait, what detonate in this deck? What's happening?
I think this is a good reminder for people as like a PSA that like, because the information age is so powerful, when you see deck lists online, use your brain, apply some critical thinking, and think, why did this person do this? Do I actually think this is good? Because there are so many instances in so many different games of people just straight yoinking deck list card for card and not thinking, and then they have no idea what's going on. They like didn't test, they don't adjust for the local meta. There's like actual garbage being played in inventory for fun. Like, just think about it. Use your brain. Don't just copy the list and hope it's good. You should actually think about why choices were made. Otherwise, like Poison Dart Frog ends up in your sideboard, which is very hype, but also very bad.
Counterpoint, just play with the cards and figure it out as you go, because you'll realize that when you're playing Annie in set one, you need to have Zon Warren's game one so that these scrap heaps don't look embarrassing. Because I kept looking at the card being like, why is this card even in my deck? Surely there are better cards to run than this just draw card. And then
it clicked.
I think I don't remember where I saw it, but someone was like, oh yeah, you have to run Zon Warren's game one. And that was an unlock for me to be like, oh, you run specific battlefields for when you're going for when you for game one, for when you're going first and when you're going second. And that was a legitimate unlock that has made me better at the game.
There you go.
By being so much worse at the beginning.
Lev, you're gonna love that Rek'Sai list. I have 2 different battlefields that I will play game one, depending on what I plan on sideboarding for the future games.
There you go.
It's different every time. I can't tell you I have a game one go first and I go second battlefield, because I don't. So that is
Well.
that is what it is. But yeah, I think the deck's really good. I think really what this comes around to at the end of the day is towards our main topic of like, has this meta been healthier or more fun? And I think at the start, with people testing a bunch, it's been more fun because the variety is back. I always love trying to solve a new format. I will say, I think the answer to this format, and I'll go on record here, I think a lot of people, it's funny, I even saw someone tweet out that it was like a hot take, and this was their hot take, and I was like, based on everyone I've talked to, I think it is the coldest take I've ever heard. But I think Pharaoh's Forerunner is just going to be meta defining for Lil and Atlanta. I think it'll be in every red deck. It'll be all over the place. As you can see, it's in my Rek'Sai deck. When's the last time you saw Forerunner in a Rek'Sai deck? Now, all the time. But before, probably never. So I think it's it's gonna be all over the place. And I think it is going to be defined on, can you deal with Forerunner? If no, you're gonna struggle. And if you can, then you're gonna be just fine. Or you can play it yourself, and both players will have Pharaoh's Forerunner out. I'm curious what you guys take is, if you've seen similar, if how you feel about this card in general, because I think only the greatest YouTube channel of all could have revealed such an amazing card.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. No, this card's messed up. I mean, this card was already ridiculously good. This was like the linchpin of mid-range driven, which obviously won the RQ in Vegas. I mean, the numbers do not lie when it comes to this card, and I think especially with Rebuke being a bit less popular, with Fight or Flight not being an option anymore, this card is just so sticky. It's just so irritating to deal with at all. We don't have any sound specs really. There's no way to like not have the Death Knell trigger if you are dealing with it, and at some point you have to deal with it. So I'm not surprised that every red deck has just decided to jam this as a 3-of, because it is just that generically powerful of a card. Almost any situation you can think of, this card is going to be good. So I'm almost surprised that it took this long for more decks to adopt it, because I think even before the bans, this card was very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was playing this in Lucian. I played it in Bologna. The only reason it got pushed to the sideboard was because of Fight or Flight and Rebuke, which is still like, Rebuke is the biggest, like, why, like, if you are even considering for a second to not run this card, it's because you think you're going to be playing against a lot of Rebuke. However, Rebuke does not just invalidate this card, it just changes how you play it. You're not just, jamming it out. I mean, you are probably still just jamming it out at every single instance, but you have to think about, oh, am I taking this battlefield here when they have 2 open? How bad is it if they Rebuke me here? Et cetera, et cetera. Like, thinking about if you just play like your opponent has Rebuke in their hand at all times, it gets even better, right? But yeah, I mean, I think that this card is obviously, I mean, we really love this card. And I personally really love it because it works. It sort of brings together the package of cards I was playing in my Lucian deck in Bologna, which was the Confront package, where I was running it for Yone, but boy, does Confront work really well with Pharaoh's Forerunner, because you like go in, trade the front half, then both of the mechs come into play ready, and you can move those in. It's like really quite strong. It allows you to play sort of interesting other lines with it, rather than it's just Wormcoil Engine and you're going to have to try to deal with a Wormcoil Engine, which is not an easy thing to deal with.
Yeah. Can't even think what else deals with this. Like, Falling Star is not good. You can't really charm this.
No.
Can't really Can't really Singularity it. Like, almost every answer
like,
except Rebuke
ignore
and
it,
Zornet Bouncer.
go under it.
Yeah, I guess. It's just like, at some point, the value the card extracts is like so high for how much for what you invest into it, that it's like, what are you supposed to do? I think you can certainly play around it, and I think it's interesting to watch decks try and navigate it. Like, if you have enough might, you'll beat it, right? If you can win fast enough, you'll beat it. If you can, I don't think you can outslow this card all that easily, because the decks that it's getting played in are like also very good at getting value and very efficient. But like, this card is
you're not playing anything better on rate. Right.
No. And as soon as you're forced to deal with this card, you just are very, very far behind. So it is an interesting puzzle to solve, but it is just pure stats. This card's so good.
Mm-hmm. I have one. There is a player who I've talked about multiple times from my locals, who I very much value their deck building, what they bring to deck building, which is generally thinking outside of the box. The card that they were running before, but now has just become like a mainstay in their version of Ezreal, is Beast Below. And Beast Below is really good against this card.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
I think Beast Below has just been underrated the whole time. Like, that card is sweet. Yes, it's expensive, but it's just like a value machine. And don't even get me started on Beast Below plus Annie and Downwell, because I'm in the lab trying to make the Downwell Annie loop deck potentially work.
There was one
Although
at my skirmish. There was a Downwell Annie at my skirmish. They went 0-0-3. 3 ties.
And there it is. Well, game one, you got to run the like sneaky deckhands and really just go for it, and then game two, you Downwell loop them.
Yeah. I don't even know if that's true, but I just knew that every time I finished the round, they were still playing.
That is a legitimate reason why I wouldn't want to play that deck. One other thing that I've sort of noticed with this meta, it's almost been like the scene in the Wizard of Oz where Dorothy first gets to the Munchkin City, and all the little Munchkins like peep their heads out, and they're like, "Can we come out now?" And then Glinda sings the song, you know that song.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna sing it because we'll get demonetized.
But
with 10,000 likes on this video, I will sing a cover of "Come Out, Wherever You Are."
There you go.
Wizard of Oz. You heard it here.
Make it happen.
But 2-drops feel like they're playable again. It's not just, this is an embarrassing card to play on turn 1 or turn 2, or on turn 1 or going second turn 1, because you're just feeding a card to Draven. That still is the case in the Draven matchup, but we're playing less of it, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's felt like we need 2-drops again. I like it.
Well, it's this big thing, and maybe it's why Draven is still successful, as players are, no longer just teching at Draven the entire time because they expect him to be the most played, even though he is still very strong. And I think like the biggest thing that we can point to for that is there was a $10,000 tournament in New Zealand over the last week or so. I'm not going to do the math on that. It
last
was like
week or this week, or
something like that. Who cares? It was recent. It was on this patch, if we want to use gaming terms of it. Ooh. It was with the post ban.
Set 2.5.
Set 2.5, and there were 340 players at this 10K, which is a pretty large event. And they played 12 rounds of Swiss, and their top 8 was 6 Draven, 1 Aurelia, 1 Lucian, which is maybe a surprise to people. And a lot of people would think, well, people just had the Draven cards. It was probably the most popular deck. It was not. I believe it was the 3rd most popular deck in the tournament. Underneath, I believe it was Aurelia and Kai'Sa. Was it even 4th? Yeah, it was 4th. It was actually under Aurelia, Kai'Sa, and Victor. We're all more represented than Draven. And it converted 37% of its decks to the day 2 cut. And then, from there, 6 of those 12 made it all the way to the top 8. And so Draven was absolutely dominant at this event. And the main thing that we saw out of this deck list was basically looking exactly the same as old mid-range Draven matchups, but instead it has Showboat in the champ zone because you're not allowed to play Vanquisher anymore. And instead of Fight or Flight, it plays Gust to help deal with some of the 2-drops and create those early combat win scenarios. Basically minusing all of their opponent's tempo, drawing a card, and still getting the Conquer. When they send their own Treasure Hunter or 2-drop in, they can just send it in, they can Gust the unit, replace the Gust, and now it's like, okay, are you going to replay this 2-drop? Probably at no point in the game are you going to really have a good opportunity to replay the 2-drop. So, or else you're probably behind, and Draven's happy that you're doing it anyway. So it's effectively just a kill spell, in a lot of ways, and it replaces itself. So very, very efficient for Draven in the early stages of the game.
That's gross. Look, Draven's interesting to me because it's like, on the one hand, Draven games are actually pretty interesting, and I think they get a lot of flack for how powerful Draven is. But I do think that Draven is like legitimately pretty fun to watch if you want to get deep into the like nitty gritty of card games. Like, lots of decisions get made. You get punished very hard for losing combats, but you also can pick your spots and try and deny a lot of, if not all of, the card draw against Draven in certain matchups. Even in the mirror, like, you get to make a lot of interesting decisions about what units to like basically gamble on and not. And I do think there's quite a lot of play in there. But the flip side is that like the Draven Legend ability is like actually just a mistake, which they've admitted at this point. So like on balance, it's hard because like obviously Draven is just straight up too good as far as its Legends tech goes. But I do think that it is more interesting than people give it credit for, even if it is still very powerful despite all the bans. Thank God Reaver's Row is gone, by the way. That was like a truly abysmal battlefield to watch. But
Yep.
And I think that's where a lot of these other decks got game back against Draven. Like the Reaver's Row game was basically like it was almost more valuable to just concede that game and just go next a lot of the time against Draven. And like it's pretty nice that it's not there anymore. Like Targon's Peak is still a problem, but without Fight or Flight, it's actually like less of a problem than it used to be, because like one of the options of 2-cost things that they were getting to do with Targon's Peak is no longer available, which I think is you know, also nice, even though that battlefield's still hard to play against because Spinning Axe obviously, but like, you know, it's a lot more manageable. No Vanquisher coming out on turn 2. It was just like an unfair amount of might to deal with every single game. It was like they're just going to have essentially this 6 might attacker or defender. And even if it's not 6 might, 4 is often just like the threat of it being 6 or whatever is just like too much to actually
6
ever
is
push
good
into
for
it,
them,
right? So I think Shobo is still like okay for Draven, and it creates some really good like end game hold scenarios. It's basically like the 4th copy of Pharaoh's Forerunner, but it's not sticky, right? Like it's the same concept. You just go Conquer in, and then you pay 1 less than a Pharaoh's Forerunner to put like slightly more base level might than you would with a Pharaoh's Forerunner in for the hold. So it's pretty good. He still does a lot of good stuff, but the consistency of the deck went down a lot, and I think that's where a lot of these other lists are going to be able to find some room and find some edge against Draven. But end of the day, it's still probably just the best mid-range deck. Like you're not going to be able to play a mid-range deck that is going to out mid-range Draven. He just has combat tricks. He has very efficient units because he's in red. Red has some really phenomenal units. He plays Kaisa Survivor and Darius. Like these are great. Plays Pharaoh's Forerunner. These are great. Like a lot of I've talked to Boulevard a bit now because I now live close to Boulevard, old friend of ours. If you played Legends of Runeterra, you know him as a commentator from that game.
Shout out to Boulevard
he's like,
and nobody else.
Any deck that I can just jam Kaisa Survivor, Darius Treferian, and Pharaoh's Forerunner in is going to be an insane deck. And guess what? This deck is like the best one at jamming those 3 cards and feeling very good about it, right? Because it can just continue to draw cards via Legend ability, or if you leave battlefields open, you draw with Survivor. And then it's main decking Bryn here, which the other potential problem deck right now is Aurelia, that people are like, oh, Aurelia might be too good. Aurelia is going to be broken with the changes, or might be best deck in format. But guess what? The reason that she wasn't the best deck in the format before is she kind of gets walled by mid-range Draven, partially due to Bryn here. And that still exists. You can just Bryn here, rebuke her away, and go conquer both sides and end the game. So it's, you know, it is still kind of the problem there that he's got. I just think that it's cool that a lot of other decks have a lot more game into Draven, so they're allowed to exist. And I think that was the big thing that was a problem before, where it was like there were too many decks where if you brought it into good Draven players in the room, you'd be like 0%. And I think that was that is no longer the case. Even if the matchup remains bad, you have a lot more game when you don't have the Reaver's game, when you're not having to deal with Vanquisher every game, right?
Well, and also we have effectively, at least for now, because I have not seen any results of it, we've killed Miracle / Detonate Draven. Like that's I've heard rumblings and musings of it potentially existing somewhere in the shadows, but I've not seen it actually rear its head yet, which I think is a win. If nothing else changed, that's a plus.
I'm willing to bet it's bad. Like without Scrap Heap, without Cold Shot, I am willing to bet that like trying to play like Detonate Trove or something and like Miracle off is not a good deck. Like I think that you will lose to a lot of other decks that are doing a more cohesive strategy. And if like, why wouldn't you just play mid-range Draven at that point, right? Like, why, it just feels like mid-range Draven is just like a better deck, right?
Yeah. I think we saw almost the idea of it in the Chinese regional with the like half Miracle, half mid-range deck.
You're right.
But it was like, it had it was running the good cards that got banned as the Miracle half. So like you'd be diluting it with worse cards. But I mean, maybe. But also I think you can jam almost any legal cards that you can play in Draven as long as you have Kaisa and Forerunner and Spinning Axe and Darius. Like it doesn't matter what the other cards are.
It's gonna be a pretty good deck.
Like just play whatever you got out of the Jinx Precon and you're gonna be fine. Even though technically the Jinx Precon is not legal anymore because it has Scrap Heaps.
Unlucky. I think the other thing
Which
about
is
Miracle
hilarious.
is like you don't really have any payoffs in any other domains. Like you can cycle through your deck very quickly in other decks if you want. Like I know I cope about it a lot, but like Yasuo, unironically, it's actually very good at cycling through your deck if that's something you want to do. The problem is you have no payoffs for Yasuo. Like, what are you ever playing when you draw 10 cards and discard 8? Like,
Rasa,
nothing.
and that's it.
Yeah, and Rust is just not enough, right? And then even the civilists, right, that were miracling through their deck and then setting up like a super sick stack, that deck still exists too. But that deck just wanted to loop sabotage and challenge. And you can just do the same thing with Aurora if you want to play 5 or 6 unit Aurora. So like I think there are just better ways to do what those decks want to do. And unlike Miracle Draven, you just don't have a payoff, another payoff that's worthwhile apart from Rasa, and that's not enough. So certainly if you like drawing cards, you can do it, but it's not going to win you that many games.
Yep. I think the better battering ram deck is actually Rek'Sai now. I think it does the I had my fair share of like turn 2 13, 14 might turns going into my skirmishes, and it comes up when you're playing Void Drone, Battering Ram. It's always going to be off Void Rush, Under Titan, kind of finding those things. It's like a little bit high rolling in that sense, but it's one of those decks where you make your own luck. Just get more looks. I don't do the math because I'm not a nerd, but I'm pretty sure the math is pretty good on finding Drone or Under Titan in each game. I'm pretty sure you're averaging. You're gonna see an Under Titan a game. Like if your opponent sees an Under Titan, they didn't get lucky. If they see 3 Under Titans, they got lucky.
Yeah. I did see a miracle detonate Lucian deck running around, but I think that was
that's kind of hype.
I think that was a meme, but maybe not. I mean, I saw someone post a Lucian Aurora deck many months ago, and it was me, and that was a meme, or what? Or was it?
Or was it? There's another deck that looks pretty good that plays Kai'Sa. Again, shocker.
I mean, unironically, Lucian is in a good spot. Again, like it sounds like I'm memeing because I always say this, but it was true before and it's true now. You actually get to play the 2-drops, which is nice for Lucian. I think you have to play the 2-drops because there is likely going to be more Victor and just yellow decks in general. And if you put too much reliance on your Lucian chosen champion, you're just going to lose the game to them 1-for-1ing you. But now you're running Pouty Poro, which is a card that has seen play for pretty much forever. And if your opponent is using their 1-for-1 removal on a Pouty Poro and you've got follow-up, you've got main deck forerunners, like you're in a good spot. And you still have the the end game with the combo with, I mean, even just Trinity Force, just like holding is now a real thing again for a lot of decks. And ironically, Lucian is one of the better decks at holding because it puts out a lot of might and it gets 2 points when you hold.
Yeah, well, I mean, also this is just a deck that was a big winner of a lot of the rule changes. Like there's an errata to Relentless Pursuit. You don't need an equipment on the board anymore to cast Relentless Pursuit, which is a really big boon for Lucian. And then on top of that, you can draw off of Sunken Temple if you assault in. If your unit was going to be too small and you attack in and assault pushes it over the mighty threshold, assault does not clear before the Sunken Temple trigger anymore. So that actually, in conjunction with playing the 2s, it comes up all the time, right? If you equip a Doran's Blade to a 2-drop, that is 4 might, but because of Lucian Purifier's ability, it's +1 with the assault. So if you go over their 2-drop with yours with an equipment, you now get to draw on Sunken Temple when previously you did not. And that is actually super relevant and like probably comes up in most of your Sunken Temple games, I would imagine. Like I think it comes up more often than it doesn't. Which is just definitely some really good changes for Lucian. And then I think specifically Fight or Flight and Reaver's Row were both 2 battlefields that Lucian really, or not 2 battlefields, but 2 cards that Lucian really hated to have to deal with, and they're gone. So I mean, I'm pretty high on Lucian. I've been seeing Damon tweet about it. I think the winner of the Vegas Best of Lucian, I'm like, yeah, I'm on board. I think this Lucian deck looks incredibly solid, and it's like it was a front runner for my Forerunner deck to play at Lille, because no matter what, I'm playing Forerunners at Lille.
Yeah,
smart.
I feel like Forerunner's presence makes me surprised that Victor exists, because like there's nothing worse than trying to call a Forerunner.
You want to know my take, Pastry?
Yeah, I do.
Victor's still bad.
Always has been. Just like the serial underperformer, unless it's literal Ghoster Driver, like pro lore legend playing it. It's always done bad.
Like, I still don't think the deck's good. I don't know. Ain't my fault. Sorry, I'm gonna. Somebody always comes up in the comments like, Victor is good. Like, fuck you, man. Victor's insane. I'm sorry, Victor enjoyers. Victor's still bad.
It's Alan's local. Oh, I don't know if you saw this, Cass, but when we were doing the Chinese co-stream, I completely trolled Alan, and I'm like 90% sure that he's not going to watch this episode, so I can reveal that I was trolling him. He was talking about his locals, and I go, yeah, you've got your local is stacked. He's talking about how good the Polish local is. It's like, it's better than day one at Anarchy. I'm like, yeah, I know, because you've got Victor there, the guy named Victor that only plays Victor. He's like, wait, you know Victor? I'm like, yeah, of course. He's like, no, seriously. There's a guy named Victor and he only plays Victor. I'm like, yeah, I've known him for years. Ask him about Florida. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, ask him about Florida. I hope so much that Alan went and asked this random guy, Victor, about Blevins in Florida. And the guy's going to have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. And I'm like, don't worry, it's an inside joke between us that he's going to act like he has no idea who I am or what Florida is, but that just shows that he knows.
Oh my God.
It's rare that you get to completely bamboozle the legendary Alan ZQ, but it happened.
Speaking of, I feel like Ezreal is maybe one of the bigger losers of
I agree.
set 2.5. Yep. I think it's maybe still playable, but obviously lost so much of the teeth out of that deck. So I feel like I don't see any Ezreal anymore, or nearly not as much.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like one of the biggest things, or not one of the biggest things, but one thing to like note is like, you would think, oh, you got to go to maybe Rat Ezreal now or something, but you actually just like can't play Rat Ezreal. Like it needed stack deck to find the combo pieces to actually like assemble the Rat. So it's like completely off the table to play Rat Ezreal, and then Control Ezreal is like still okay because it kept a lot of pieces, but the reason it was so good is you could play a lot of 1-ofs or like 2-ofs or less of the pieces for each of these matchups. And then you would find your call shot and you would pick up the exact pieces you need for any given scenario. I cannot tell you how many times I played against Alan early on when he was on 1-of Watcher, 1-of Bellows. I know the Bellows counts definitely went up later because that card is just like absurd, but it was like
so good.
1-of Watcher, 1-of Bellows, and I would be playing Swarm Rek'Sai. Like, this is before Spiritforged even released, and every game we play, I'm getting Watchered Bellows. And this is not like, oh, he's just like luck sack. No, he's just drawing the whole goddamn deck. And that just doesn't happen for Ezreal anymore. Like, it just doesn't draw enough cards to be like, oh, I can play every single answer in the game and I will find the answer. Now it's like, okay, you have to kind of pick and choose. I mean, we just pulled up the Las Vegas, best of win for Alan, and you can see a lot of 1-ofs still in this deck. He had definitely shifted, but the Watcher was still a 1-of. Did it feel like when you watched Alan's games, he always had Watcher when he wanted it? Yeah, because that's how the deck works, right?
Because he did.
He absolutely did. But that is something that Called Shot enabled more than anything. And so that won't be available anymore. And another thing, some of the Control Ezreal's lost Obelisk. I think turn 1 Obelisk for Ezreal was actually pretty valuable as well. And there, turn 1 5 resources, if you could match the Obelisk to play turn 1 Vex, was also really crazy. So I think there's like a lot of things that Ezreal's not going to be able to do in the same way. Notably, Fight or Flight was not actually a card that Ezreal was playing that much. I think people were maybe thinking that would have been a big loss for Ezreal, but I think that it's more so just stack deck was such an integral card to Ezreal that it's going to hurt.
Yeah, the best culture replacement is like Traveling Merchant, and that card is so much worse for so many reasons than Cold Shot was.
Yeah. I do think that it sort of plays into the overall narrative, and the overarching topic is does the meta feel healthier? Is it more fun? And I think for me, it's a resounding yes. And I saw people on Twitter immediately complaining, like, especially when the New Zealand results came out, like, oh, they didn't do enough. Draven is still the best deck. It's like, that wasn't the point. Was not to make Draven be the worst deck or not playable anymore. It's like, have there be more variety in what we can play. Have there be more meta share. Have it not be like Draven is SSS plus tier. Now it's just A tier, or I mean maybe even still S tier. But like let's move it. Let's diversify a bit. And yes, is Ezreal control dead? Probably not. I would imagine that there's probably still a version of Ezreal control that's good. But is it, I now get to tutor my entire deck and draw the exact cards I need every single game? Probably not. Is it a solid, like, standard format level control deck? Probably. And that's what we want, right? Like, I think with Called Shot, decks got, to use the Magic analogies, like, decks got to legacy or modern playable way too quickly, and we needed to shift things down to standard. Like, a strong mid-range deck, a strong control deck, a strong aggro deck, that's fine. A control deck that can play a bunch of one-ofs because it cycles through its entire deck and effectively has access to its entire deck as its hand, if you're a good player, probably not what we want at set 2 of a standard format. Now, if we ever get a vintage format or eternal format for when we get more sets and there's cards rotate out, like, I like having those formats be high powered.
Me too.
Like, that's for that time. Standard does not need to be that,
Yeah. No, I fully agree.
Who are we missing? I feel like we've covered basically every deck. I guess Azir we haven't covered yet. The deck seems pretty good. Kind of the other deck. But like both, it's funny, both Azir and Rek'Sai were good before the bans. So it just makes sense that those decks would still be good. Like I think there was a Rek'Sai in 10th at Vegas. And I think Azir got as high as
11-2 and he bubbled, so he might have been 10th,
Yeah, it was somewhere in there. And then I think Azir was top 16 or 12th or something was the highest placing Azir.
Yeah, so he also bubbled at 11-2. Yeah.
There you
go. Poor Jax catching strays for no good reason.
That's true. Jax
actually got just nerfed though.
I think he's dead.
Yeah,
I actually think the deck is like
why though? Like it's so sad. It's like, oh, everyone's favorite puppy got kicked today. It's like, why? Why did we do that? There's no reason.
It's probably future proofing as far as just like, because it was like more rules clarification than anything, right? Because it was like a little weird, but I also kind of thought it felt a little bit flavorful, and so I thought it was intentional. Of like, he's just like
tosses the weapon up and then recatches it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, right? It was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of neat. It's like, why is it written that way if you didn't want to do it? Well, it turns out there's a lot of things in this game that's like, why is it written that way if you didn't want to do it?
Hey,
and they're slowly fixing all that. So
the rules for hidden on hidden cards, that is like the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
If I had to petition Riot to make one like functional change, it's put the actual rules of hidden on the hidden cards, because people don't believe me when I tell them. I mean, they do believe me, but they begrudgingly do it.
No, it's a good point that you're bringing up, though, that Azir and Rek'Sai were already kind of like on the edge of pushing in, and then you just kind of bring the power level a little bit down, and they get to play with the big dogs, right? That's the big thing. And I think like a lot of people were also thinking maybe Fiora would be good because she was kind of on that edge as well with her success in China. And I think that it's possible that we'll see Fiora do well. I think more and more I got a little bit frustrated with the deck. Into a lot of these like it still kind of has this Draven problem, and its Draven problem was solved a little bit with the lack of fight or flight and the lack of Reaver's Row, but I just have felt that orange yellow fundamentally still has like draw issues, and even though Fiora has games where she'll hit the exact card she needs to like draw 5 cards or whatever, and she's just like fine, in a lot of games that you end up just getting kind of like card starved, and I think that's an issue that Rek'Sai doesn't run into, but Azir also has the problem. So I think Azir and Fiora might be in similar spots where they're like very good, but they kind of have this tendency to maybe draw the wrong half of their deck and drop a game that maybe you're better than your opponent, and you just like drop this game because your deck just like spills spaghetti all over itself, and then you can't you can't play the game because there's too much spaghetti on your playmat. And that's the big issue. And I think that's where maybe Rek'Sai has been a little bit better. It doesn't have the spaghetti problem because it like draws more cards off the top of the deck. That's what it's gonna be known as from now on, is the spaghetti issue.
The spaghetti paradox.
Yep.
So when you draw the wrong half of your deck, is you've spilled spaghetti all over your playmat. But I think that's been the issue.
And you don't even get to blame the loss on lands like you do in Magic. We could have done a whole episode on that LSV tweet, but we somehow dodged it until now. And now we're not going to dodge our mailbag for this week. If you want to get on the podcast, the best way is to, get hired for an RQ, I guess, but also to leave a comment on this very YouTube channel. This one is from Exiled Vessel, who says, they didn't ban enough IMO. Meta here now is just everybody who had Kai'Sa built went crawling back. I go to 4 events a week. It's just been Kai'Sa, Victor, Aurelia, and it's way more Kai'Sa than anything else. First off, you don't need to brag about how you get to go to 4 events a week. That's reflex, but okay. But I mean, I think that this episode was kind of maybe a counterpoint to this, where I think that there's a lot of other things to be played. I mean, I played Darius. I've been playing Lucian. The only reason I didn't play Lucian this week is because I've played it to death.
Didn't you win a skirmish on
Darius? No, I won a skirmish on Lucian.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you also played one on Darius.
No, I was considering, and then I'm like, I already have a buy to this event. B, I'm casting the event, so the buy is useless. So I just had multiple reasons not to.
But think about the clout.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think often it's just people being knee jerk, and I think that this, was right after the bans that this comment came out. Right, like this is last week's episode, and I think. I wonder if the same person is having the same opinion going to the 4 events, because I'm wondering if, Draven has come back into the local meta, or some more of these decks have started to show up if people experiment. Because I think a lot of people saw the bans. I think even myself included, I think I was saying that I thought Aurelia and Kai'Sa were probably the biggest winners. But the more I play, the less I am set on them being actually the biggest winners. I still think Aurelia is very good in the meta right now. And I actually think that makes Kai'Sa worse, because Aurelia is very good, and that matchup's very difficult and harder to solve, because Kai'Sa actually lost battlefields that she would have been using that would have helped her in the matchup. And from there, I think Victor's bad, right? So I don't think that one actually ended up paying out, even though he should have been a winner. And I think Draven is still very good, and arguably one of the best decks, probably still in that top 3, and maybe even just the best. And it's really hard to say. Plus, there's so many more decks that you can make work. We didn't even bring up Aurora Yi, which is the only way that you can still play Aurora, and it is kind of reasonable now.
Trying not to fall asleep.
Excited for RQ, the end of RQ season. I think the meta is going to be great. I think it was already good, honestly, before the bans, but I think it's even better now. So give yourself a week or two and listen to Blevins, because that's when we're going to see set 2.5 in all its glory.
Yes, cannot wait. But that is going to take us to the very end of this episode. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing to get your comment on the next episode of The Winning Point. But for Casanova, for Pastry, for the whole Turn 'em Sideways crew, and an even Charmer who decided not to show up on his birthday.
That's crazy.
I'm in Blevins. We'll see you.
Classic Charmer.